Okay. Tell me about what's your day-to-day activity that you are doing right now as a business analyst.
Okay, so my day-to-day usually starts from around 9 in the morning. So from 9 to 12, I start my day basically developing customer incident management processes. So I'm developing requirements for um the customer incident management process, making sure that requirements is thorough and heard and concise. And 9 times out of 10, I usually have a colleague with me taking notes while I'm making sure I'm ahead in the whole process and I'm listening. And after that, from 1 to around 1:15, I usually have stand-up meetings with my implementation team to kind of go over any key issues or processes that we need to talk about and make sure that any escalation issues that need to be resolved gets resolved. And then from then on, I'm watching videos on the ServiceNow product documentation website to keep my skills up to date and to make sure that any new products being demoed into the platform, I understand its impact it could have on the platform. So, like a few months ago, there was a video on proactive triggers on the Now platform release on the Utah instance. And it basically is supposed to help end users with helpful actions through virtual agent. So knowing little things like that helps me, keep my skills up to date. And it's also important because 9 times out of 10, I could get asked to demo, things like this to my development team. So it's always important that I know what I'm talking about. And then from then on, I document my morning's meetings. I evaluate my colleagues' notes, identifying any anomalies or gaps in requirements, and making sure that the requirements are clear and concise because these are what are going to be used to implement user stories into the system. And then from after I check that, from 3 to 4:30 towards the end of the day, I'm also meeting with my development team and my technical team to discuss the requirement. The entire requirement team basically meets up to discuss what they'll be developing from the requirement documentation, and quality focus processes like this are very important to make sure that the project will be moving effectively. And then lastly, I end my day by meeting back with my customers um, to discuss and balance the necessity of the customizations. We discuss things such as like the short and long term, the long term and short term risk, and usually the customer's initial cost of customizations will only be reduced to what's absolutely necessary. And yeah, that's basically my day to day for the most part.
Okay, that's very nice and impressive. So tell me about which version, ServiceNow version you are using right now.
Right now, I'm using the Tokyo version.
Okay, and do you find any difference between Tokyo to the previous version? Major differences between Tokyo to the previous version?
Tokyo to the previous version? No, I don't.
Normally those things everybody want to know that definitely there's some upgrade happens, right? So in the Tokyo there
Right.
upgrade happen and there will be some differences. So people may ask you that what is the differences happen. So yeah, so it is better to know that what differences you have seen in this earlier version.
Yeah. Okay, I'll keep
Yeah.
note of that.
Yeah. So, yeah, apart from that, I think you mentioned that you are meeting your customer, right? How do you documenting those requirements nowadays? So let's say that your customer gives some requirement, right? So how do you documenting those requirement?
I document my requirements by conducting interviews with them to understand what they're asking. And then I develop those requirements by writing like a detailed user case story.
Okay.
I write a detailed user case story to make sure that it's very clear and concise to both my client and my team.
Okay. So which are you using any kind of agile products in the ServiceNow?
Yes, I utilize agile methodology and also utilize Jira to track my sprints
So
whenever.
you are maintaining the Jira to track your all this activity, the story, sprint, all these stuff, right?
Yes,
Okay, that's great. And then developer go through the Jira story, and based on that, they work on the service now, right?
yes.
Okay. So why, as a business analyst, right? Why don't you suggest to use the ServiceNow Agile 2.0 method instead of Jira? Because ServiceNow have a very good product on that Agile development.
Right. We use both. We utilize both, but
Okay.
for more complex projects, for projects that for more bigger projects, it's more efficient to utilize Jira.
Okay. Okay.
Is
That's
that a good answer?
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's say that you are documenting some complex requirement and you need some diagrammatic picture. Which tools you are using to store this information?
For a diagram. No, I'm not.
For example, you need to be map between one table to another table, or some kind of structure you need to be documented, right? So are you using any kind of UI where, or graphical representation where you can store all this information? Are you using any kind of Visio diagramming tools?
Visual diagram tools? No, I'm not. But do you mind like telling me more about that? The diagramming tools
Yeah. So
utilized.
for example, let's say that you want to show that how your product will be looks like that, right? So from
Oh,
incident, it will be create a problem. From problem, it will be create some change, right? So you need to be instruct your customer or maybe as well as your developer, like this will be the relationship, right? In that case, do you use any kind of Visio diagram tools, or you just note it down into that story?
we usually note it down into the story. But can you give me an example of visual diagramming tools
Yeah,
that
so
you
if
can
you
use?
search with that, or if you there is a Microsoft product, very good product called Visio diagram. You can use that Visio diagram. Using that, we can uh, create basic diagram between each and every other application, how it will be looks like that. So we can use that.
Okay, the Microsoft visual diagram.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
What are the ServiceNow based products that your customer mostly use?
Base products, the ITSM modules, including like the incident, knowledge, change, problem, request, event, and also some ITOM products as well, like the CMDB. We utilize some of our customers' requests for CMDB and discovery, and also request management.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
this
basically,
is
your customer is using ITSM and ITOM because request management is part of this ITSM, right? And then,
yes,
so mostly your customer is using ITSM and ITOM, and within the ITOM, they are using CMDB mostly.
yes, yes.
Uh, so is there, I mean, um, the ITOM module have a very big, right? And then there is a very good exposure on discovery. Why don't they are using so for discovery? Is there any reason?
They're using Discovery to basically get a more visual on their on their data. Discovery, it basically compresses, it compresses of all the servers in the all the server or the servant and constructor in the company. So discovery is used for companies to get more visualization on their data, on the configuration items in their service, in their company, I'm sorry.
For quality assurance, like QA, how you are moving your code to production? Do you maintain any change request or any standard, or how you are managing, or how you are moving your code?
How do we move code to production?
Right. Do you maintain any change request?
Yes, I do. And for quality assurance, I basically do like a detailed report that basically documents the objectives and outcome of the scripting. And I ensure that all the testing activities are covered for all the functional and product requirements. And by maintaining like a requirement traceability matrix, I could verify all the complexities. And you asked me if I keep a detailed change. I'm
Right.
sorry, what was the question? A change
Are you maintaining
process?
any? Yeah. Are you maintaining any change process before you move your code to the production?
Yes, I keep a very detailed comprehensive change strategy. So that involves, before moving my coding to production, I make sure that I conduct training sessions with my users to ensure the functioning of and verification of that coding to make sure that it's working and the functionality it's supposed to perform is performing correctly. And after doing that, that's when I'm able to move it to production.
Okay. And how you are testing right now? For example, if you want to test some catalog item or maybe change process, how you are testing right now?
How do we test for catalog items?
Yeah, manually or using the ATF, how you are doing?
Yeah, we use ATF assurance testing. We use QA testing, and we also use UAT testing to validate um
So,
our I'm sorry?
so you are using ATF for testing purpose?
Yes, yes.
Okay. When did you complete your CSA, Certified of
Um
System Administrator? When did you
last
complete?
year,
Last
last
year?
year.
Okay. And are you planning for any further certification?
Yes. I'm planning to get developing my certified application developer and also my CIS as well.
Okay. So did you complete that IDM certification?
The ITIL Foundation, yes, I did.
Okay. So it is not mentioned in your CV. So why you like to have this in your CV, that ITL Foundation certification?
Okay.
And when I was going through your CV, it was very simple CV. I mean, there was I mean, a very plain and simple CV. There are a lot of tools that can generate your CV. It will be very more attractive if you can use those tools to generate your CV. At least put all your details, because when I go through, it was very simple. Plain and simple CV. So yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So I need to add more information, more details.
Right. More details, like if you see that for example, I'm just giving you one of the example, operating system, right? So nowadays, it's in your CV, it does not need to be mentioned that operating system, right? As a business analyst, when you go for the interview, don't think that which operating system you work, or do you know that does not need it at all in your CV. For example, this programming scripting, right? So Java scripting might be helping your ServiceNow skill, but as a BA, you probably have, more details about ServiceNow product or non-communication, non-technical skill. Those can be highlighted, right?
Okay.
Instead of this, developer, like you have um, uh, some development thing. Instead of that, it will be more like other stuffs.
Okay.
Okay. Did you take any training of HRSD or any kind of other module?
No, I'm only very knowledgeable in ITSM and ITOM modules.
Okay.
Yeah. I know that there is a rise now for knowledge on CSM and HRSD.
They are in trend right now. So yeah, if you can take some basic training, and then because they are process oriented and will be very good future on those modules.
Yeah, I will look into it.
Okay. So did you ever created the ATF, or your different team normally create the ATF?
Do I create, I'm sorry, what?
Did you create ATF?
No, that was development team doing that.
Development team created, right? Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just helped, with just testing the execution for the expected behavior of the product and stuff like that.
Okay. So let's say that you have a P2 ticket norm created because of some story. Okay.
To issue tickets?
P2E, priority 2 ticket created in your
Okay.
environment because of some issues or because of some story, right? How did you handle at that moment?
If you have tickets issued because of a story,
Yeah.
how do I handle it? First, I will try to replicate the reported issue and understanding, and this is kind of like a crucial step because I have to understand the problem and the cause. Then I would go ahead and see if to trace and trace the execution and then identify any errors of check logs for any relevant information related to the issue. And then I would inspect the variable values and communicate with my team to develop solutions for that issue.
So let's say that you have received a discovery project which needs to be implemented, and for that you need to be plan for the project, like
Right,
from initiation of the project, customer
right,
meeting, development
right.
phase, and then maybe finally implementation and hypercare. So how do you plan for that?
Okay, so first I define the scope for the discovery project. I determine which areas in my IT infrastructure I need to discover and manage using my ITOM tools. And then I identify the specific goals and objectives, like what aim are we trying to achieve with this ITOM discovery implementation. And then I conduct interviews with my stakeholders, which could involve, the IT operations team, the application owners, the O&M team, and other relevant parties. And I engage with a discussion to understand the requirements and expectations for the ITOM discovery solution. I determined the necessary resources like the budget, what hardware and software tools are we going to be needing. And then I go and assign roles and requirements to the teams relevant for the discovery project. I make sure that I identify any risk and challenges that I could face and develop a set of mitigation plan, a risk mitigation plan to address these risks. I evaluate my ITOM discovery tools that are available, and I choose the best tool based on the requirement. I determine the data needed for my discovery, such as my CI information, my service dependencies. And then I also consider if there's any integrations needed with the ITOM solution and other IT systems, such as integrations with ITSM tools or the CMDB. And then I pilot my test. I develop a data privacy regulation and I test my discovery solution in my testing environment, my controlled environment, and make sure that it's working, all its functionality is working the way it needs to be. And yeah, that's mostly after I'm done, I develop a comprehensive documentation detailing my ITOM discovery process. And I provide any training needed to relevant staff to interpret the data collected through the discovery project, and I communicate that with the stakeholders as well.
During the hypercare, how you maintain your environment? For example, there is a discovery project implementation happens. After that, there will be some hypercare, right? And at that moment, there could be a lot of P2 ticket will be created in for ServiceNow, right? So how you maintain those hypercare situation?
So to maintain hypercare, I can do things like select a designated support team to address any reported issues very promptly. Also set in like formal process for like users to be able to log in any issues they may be having or log in any support requests.
Okay.
And then I do also documentations of solutions to those issues and conduct any additional training to both end users and teams if there's to address any misunderstandings or common error issues.
It was nice to talking with you. You have a very detailed knowledge about as a business analytics point of view. But something like your CV needs to be a little bit more attractive, and some unnecessary point if you can remove, it will be very good. And yeah, I mean, rest. I think you are very clear about your activity and what you are doing right now.
Okay, how did I do overall? I know there are some questions that I wasn't really as precise as I should have been.
Right. So basically, yeah. So some question like you should know about. I mean, you should also explore the HRSD module or that some new module which is coming up in the service now, right? So those things you need to be understand. And it is very obvious that the ServiceNow is a very fast module nowadays, right? And it has several branches, several products is available. It's not possible to know a single person to all the modules, but whatever modules they are right now working, they should have deep knowledge. For example, your case, the ITSM, right? You are working the ITSM, so you should have detailed, knowledge on those ITSM. And yeah, it is quite not possible to explore all these products that have ServiceNow at that moment, like ITOM, ITBM, HRSD. It is not quite possible for everyone to understand at that immediate effect. And
Yeah.
you have, you know, 3 years experience, and within 3 years, I can see, you know, I mean, you have very clear understanding about your uh, activity.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. It makes me very happy. And thank you for your videos as well on YouTube. They're also very helpful. They've been very helpful to me.
Yeah, thank you. Whatever is in your current uh, version you're working, like for example, you are working on Tokyo, right? So understand
Yes.
that what are the functionality which is only available in Tokyo, which is not present to the previous version. What you know, extra benefit that came up during the upgrade. You know, what are the issue occurs, like from Quebec to that Tokyo, what are the issue occurs during that, how you train your customer for using the service now, or maybe how whatever the customer is, the new customer, they are trying to, you know, implement the service now, how do you you know, explain that how benefit service now is, and then those things is, I think you already know, but little bit more confidently that if you can express, that will be good.
Okay, I will definitely work on that. I will definitely do that. And then do more work on ATF and QA and
Right,
have
right,
more knowledge on that because I've kind of stumbled when you asked me questions.
right,
So
right.
I will.
Because when I go through your CV, you a lot of places you mentioned that you work on the ATF, right? And then you work as a QA person. So when those things you probably need to be, you know, improve. Like if you mentioned that you work as a QA analyst, so you need to be more how you maintain that quality assurance, and you know,
Yeah.
how you maintain that ATA. What will be happens if you know, some issue occur. Those things you might need to be a little bit improved. Otherwise, it was very nice. Within 3 years, you have, you know, explored a lot of things in service now.
Yes, okay. I will definitely work on that. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. You made my day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.